Are you worried that your family might contest your will? Well, you're not alone. A lot of people have that concern. One of the reasons that people seek out an estate planning and elder law attorney is to make sure that their will is rock solid, that it cannot be contested, that there's just no possible scenario that would allow any family member to contest the will. But I have to tell you, there are no guarantees. The best thing you can do is have a good will written by a very well qualified estate planning and elder law attorney. Let's say you have that. You still might be worried that the family will contest your will. Well, talk to your attorney. What are the grounds for contesting your will? One of the major grounds for contesting a will is that the testator or the testatrix, the person who fills out the will, doesn't have legal capacity. So as people age, they're more likely to have cognitive decline, even diagnosed dementia. Does that mean that they cannot sign a will? No, it doesn't mean that at all. As long as the person understands what they are doing, they understand that they're filling out a will, that they're signing a will, who the objects of their bounty are. By that I mean who their family is. Basically, they understand what the estate value is that they own. You know, even with a Alzheimer's diagnosis, somebody can sign a will, but I have to tell you that when somebody signs a will, when they have a cognitive diagnosis like Alzheimer's, it does open the door for a family member to contest the disposition of assets under the will. Having an elder law attorney as your drafting attorney is going to help you, because as an elder law attorney, I can tell you we work with clients quite frequently that aren't as sharp as they were when they were 40 years old, but they still have capacity, and I'll go to court and I will testify to that. On the other hand, nobody ever wants to go to court. You don't go to an estate planning elder law attorney to go to court. Our goal is to avoid it. So how can you make sure that a family member won't contest a will? You know, a couple of other ways you can dissuade somebody is rather than cutting somebody out of your will, even if you really don't want them to inherit equally, distribute to them enough money that it is a disincentive. So maybe you have a $600,000 estate and you have 2 kids. And one of the kids is far closer to you. You want them to get the majority of your estate. In fact, you might want to just omit the other one. If you're worried, though, about the other one who is disinherited arguing against your will, and if there is a concern of lack of capacity, one of the strategies might be to leave that one unfavored child $100,000. Leave the other the $500,000. Put in a no contest clause, because if that one who is going to get $100,000 files a lawsuit, they're going to lose their $100,000 unless they're able to successfully show in litigation that you lack capacity. And $100,000 is a big incentive for them not to fight. I guess the best thing I could tell you to do is to get your estate plan in place before anybody can even argue that you don't know what you're doing. Another ground for contesting a will is something we call undue influence. And you frequently see this when there is somebody who, again, is losing capacity, and then they might have like a caregiver child who is in their life 24/7. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. It might be something that's really important to make sure that the person is being cared for. But it does lend itself for an argument of undue influence. Again, what's the best way to avoid this? Get your estate plan in place well before anybody could ever argue that you don't know what you're doing. Everybody's situation is different. These are just a few suggestions. What I would recommend that you do is seek out an estate planning and elder law attorney. Make sure that you get a good plan in place, that the lawyer will back you on whatever that plan says. Do not do an online form or a do-it-yourself or some form you get off the internet, because basically that is going to open up your estate for a contest. Hopefully you find this helpful. There are a lot of things that you can do to make sure your estate plan is ironclad. One of the best things you can do is reach out to your lawyer.